688 Attack Sub was released for MS-DOS in 1989 and ported to the Sega Genesis in 1991. I bought the Genesis version sometime in the mid-90s at Funkoland because it was cheap and it looked intriguing enough. I thought I'd be driving submarines around and blasting other boats and ships like a crazy version of Battleship. But it turned out to be a simulation game where you control all aspects of the sub, like navigation, firing off torpedoes, and operating the sonar. It didn't include the manual, which would have helped because it was thicker than a phone book, and we didn't have the internet yet, so there was a lot of trial and error in figuring out what all this shit meant, especially when playing the Soviet missions, because everything is actually written and spoken in Russian. Talk about attention to detail. It helped that a lot of the subtitles and mission orders were in English, and all of their equipment had the same functions, so if you knew how to operate the American sub, you should be able to navigate around the Russian sub too. I do think it's cool that they went with the authenticity by having it in Russian, and that their submarine layout and interface is slightly different from the American sub. There's no beating the game per se. You can do any of the missions at any time, and then you're back to the mission select screen. So just running through them all on your own accord is the closest thing to finishing the game. The only time you get a cutscene or some kind of sequence outside of the mission orders screen is when you complete a stage or your crew crashes and dies. The game isn't about flashy graphics or fast-paced action. It's a true sim in every sense of the word. And you can tell that this was built on a PC with the whole cursor control, which is a little bit slow and clunky with the D-pad, but it's not that bad. And you can use shortcuts to go from room to room quickly rather than backing out into the main menu. To say that this game isn't for everyone would be an understatement. It's extremely niche, so it's really tough to grade this accurately. For those with an interest in a straight sub simulation, this is pretty good for the time. Otherwise, you'll find very little to keep you entertained. You'll likely find this to be way too slow, sluggish, and lacking in any real form of excitement. And you'll certainly find the overall experience to be subpar. And that wraps up this edition of Aqualung's Game Reviews. See you next time.